Right, it's the first thing, like it's the first actionable item, right? So if I'm able to actually control physical actions, right, that's the first step in working toward humility, which is what he moves on to in this chapter. So he said, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Allah does not increase a servant in forgiveness except in honor, and no one humbles himself for Allah except that Allah elevates him. There are a number of hadith around this, right? And we're going to go through, you'll find like lists and lists of a hadith that talk about humility, that talk about pushing the ego down, that talk about like the problems with arrogance. Here, what is he sallallahu alaihi wasallam basically telling us? That what are some characteristics that we should be striving for in order to attain humility? Well, the first one is forgiveness. Why is that important?
Because you can't obtain Allah's forgiveness unless you show humility.
Okay. That in order to forgive, I actually have to do what? Why is it so hard to forgive? Forgiving like let's say forgiving others. Somebody wrongs me. Why is it so hard for me to forgive him or her? Ego. Okay. So what does my ego want? All right, my ego wants to punish him. So getting that sense of like catharsis and like this person getting punished, can that person ever be punished enough? Right, so my nafs and my ego, what do they want? They just want that person to be like, just like suffer. It's like, I can't believe you stole that $3 from me, right? Like, and it's just, and you just keep wanting that person to be punished, and the ego is just never satisfied, right? But in forgiveness, what happens? What changes? Humble myself in what way? What changes? Like, what changes in the mindset? Sure, no, I definitely am fighting my ego, I'm pushing against it. I agree with all those things. But I'm saying, like, in terms of like mindset, what shifts? What changes?
It's not about them, it's about you.
Okay, right? Like now it shifts in sense like, okay, like here it's about me in what way? What does that mean?
Holding a grudge or being angry or hatred is not.
Okay, it's less about what he did and more about how I respond. Good. All right. So there's that shift definitely happens. What else? And if I understand and I know, like, okay, this is the way to respond. Like, I'm saying, like, walk me through the forgiveness process. So the first thing is perspective, right? So I have a shift in perspective. All right, it's less about what he did, it's less about what she said, and it's more about how I am responding. Then what else can help me shift that focus?
You realize it's like not as big of a.
All right, so now there becomes like there's a value proposition there, where it's like, okay, if it's about how I respond, is this amount of response actually helping? Okay, what else? So there's a lot of questions, right? So there's a lot of perspective shifts, there's a lot of questions. What else is happening?
Eventually you put together a plan and execution of some.
Okay, so I actually pivot. It's like, all right, now I have enough information where I have this perspective, I've made the shift, now I need to act on it, okay? And what is the action that I want to take?
Generally, right, in the term of forgiveness, it's actually to
What is forgiveness? Right, well, okay, what if I say this? This person wronged me, right? This person stole $100 from me. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to ask for my right on the Day of Judgment in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I never think about it again.
you're exonerating yourself
Mm.
from the premise of it consuming you. That's what forgiveness is.
But what I just did, saying, okay, you know what? I'm going to let Allah take care of this. I'm going to get my right from this person, but I'm going to let Allah handle it, and I forget about it. Have I not done the same thing? It's not the same thing? Why? This is not consuming me either. I'm not thinking about it anymore. Because forgiveness is a choice too, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I've decided.
You're removing your rights, basically. You're giving up a right
Mm-hmm.
versus enforcing a right, and you're just asking for it later.
You're just saying, I'll get it back later.
Yeah.
That
Sure. Sure. But am I consumed by it? No.
I think there's also a way to kind of think about it, like every time someone wrongs you, it's an opportunity, right?
Yes.
So it's like by you following the sunnah and forgiving them, like you are taking something that was bad that happened to you, and your response is a positive one. It's a good one. It's an act of worship almost, right?
Sure.
Like, which is inherently good for you, yourself, and the afterlife.
So in these situations, you guys said both of these involve release, and I agree with you guys on that. But I'm saying, what's the difference between the types of release? I don't need to forget. I can forgive someone and say, okay, you know what? Whatever, man. It's just $100. It's not a big deal. I forgive you. Hey, can I borrow $100? I mean, like, no, I don't think so. Why? I remembered, and I was like, you know what? It's probably not a good idea. I'm probably not going to get the money back if I let him borrow it. So I don't think forgetting is necessarily part of the equation. But I will say this, like, okay, if we understand that both of these, there's elements of release in both of these, right? There's an element of release in forgiving. There's an element of release in what I call consigning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, leaving it up to Him. Both of these, I'm not holding anything in my heart. But what is the difference between the two, fundamentally? What is one involved that the other one doesn't? Both of them, I trust Allah, right? One is, I trust Allah to get my right back. The other one is, I trust Allah to reward me. Would you agree? So there's an element of trust in both of these. Like in forgiveness, what's required? What's an important part of the formula that I need?
It's almost like you're giving up your right to
Humility, right? Like essentially that's the difference there, is that one requires me to lower myself because I have to give up something. In this one, what am I giving up? I'm not giving up anything. I'm actually holding on to it. I'm not giving up anything. Because like, oh, okay, do I trust Allah? Is it a permissible choice? Yeah, 100%. I am allowed all of those things. Nobody can ever come to me and hang forgiveness over my head like blackmail. Be like, oh brother, be forgiving, or like you have to forgive, and blah, blah, blah. That can work, like, I can encourage others to forgive, but I cannot force it. Because at the end of the day, sometimes I might, what? It might just be lip service. I'll lie. It'll straight be lip service. I'll be like, okay, fine, I forgive him. And what's happening in my heart?
Your heart is
Seething. No, it's just lip service. I'm saying it, but my heart is seething, right? My heart is still furious at this person. So I actually didn't forgive that person, even though I'm just providing lip service. This requires a level of honesty. So even if we are getting emotionally blackmailed, like, oh, you know, it happens. Oh, he's just young. Or no, don't involve the police. Or blah, 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 right? Like there's a lot of stuff. No, people steal cars. People hit each other. Like, you know what I mean? Like someone might hit your car. It's like, oh, brother, it's in the masjid. You forgive him. It was Jummah and blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, but who's going to pay for my car? Right? He's like, Allah will bless you with it. Allah will provide you with a better car. And it's like, I'm like, yeah, but he's leaving and his car is fine. So, I mean, like, these are real world interactions and things that happen, right? So it's just a matter of like, okay, tayyib, with forgiveness, it requires a level of humility in the sense that I now have to give up something. I'm giving up my right.
So what about that scenario? You forgive the person, right? Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Actually trust that they're genuine, right? They're going to course correct, etc.
Well, here,
Fall right back.
so I'm going to ask you this. Is course correcting a necessary part of my forgiveness?
No.
Like this person here, they stole from me, they hurt me, they cursed me, they hit my car, whatever the case might be. Remember, it's not about this person and more about me, right? Forgiveness is from here, right? It happens from here to here. What happens with this person, that's between him and his Lord.
But
Yeah.
let's use a parent to a child. Let's use that, right?
Sure.
Is upset their child stole.
Mm-hmm.
Of course they're disappointed, and they forgive
Sure.
the child, but they're like, hey, I want to see you do that, right?
Okay.
Set pure love. But then the child steals again, right?
Mm-hmm.
The parent reverts back, right? Because like basically like, you know what, I can't forgive you because your actions continue to be that, right?
Okay. I mean, it's possible. Like, again, forgiveness is a choice. And if something happens once or 100 times, at every junction there's a choice. Does that make sense? So whether it be the first time or 17th time, I've had a choice every single one of those times on whether I choose to forgive or not. And not just that, with parenting, it's usually less about forgiveness and more about teaching course correction, right? It's a different dynamic in the sense that a lot of times any violation that occurs, it's less more against me as the parent, and it's usually a violation against someone else or something else.
So then that point, are there, in the broader understanding, whether it's in the eyes of Allah or us people, there are different levels to forgiveness?
Absolutely, 100%. Like, I'll give an example is somebody takes my right. Somebody takes my right. The first level is like, no, I'm going to demand my right in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Over here, there's no forgiveness. Yes? The second level of forgiveness is forgiving and changing the nature of the relationship. This person cursed me out. Okay, he was frustrated, he was upset, I caught him on the wrong day. No problem, it happens. You know, I honestly, I seriously forgive you. But the level of intimacy and conversation that I had before is now more reserved. Right? I'm not engaging with the person the way I did before. And that person might feel it, like, oh man, like he's not as open as he was before, he's not as friendly as he was before. Happens. But in terms of spiritual accountability, there isn't any. Is that when we stand in front of Allah, one thing I'm not going to bring up is the fact that he cursed me out. Yes? Third level, this one's tough. Go right back into like as if nothing happened. Do you guys know the story of Abu Bakr and Misla? Misla was a companion. The Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, he used to give him a stipend because he was his cousin. He was in financial need, he needed help, so he used to give him money every month. And when Hadith al-Ifk, when the accusation of Aisha started, guess whose side Misla was on? He was on the side of the people who accused Aisha. Abu Bakr is like, this is my daughter you're talking about. What is a very natural reaction? He's like, no soup for you, right? Like, I was like, I'm not giving you anything. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then reveals, وَإِن تَعْفُوا وَتَصْفَحُوا أَلَا تُحِبُّونَ أَن يَغْفِرَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ. Be forgiving. Overlook things. Do you not love that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives you? Abu Bakr immediately says, I want to be from those people who Allah forgives and loves. Some narrations mention, not only did the stipend go back to Misla, it actually increased. That's like Abu Bakr level stuff, you know? Can it be done? Yes, I think it can. Right? Is it easy? That's tough, man. That requires like a level of humility that's almost angelic. Right? It's very rare to see that. I would say that a lot of people are willing to forgive, but out of those people, I would imagine most of them are willing to forgive with the understanding that we're probably going to change the nature of the relationship. Yeah, meaning that there's no spiritual accountability, but there will be worldly changes. Right? I think most people who are in the forgiving category that is very manageable for our hearts and our minds. I think like, I'm going to make this relationship better. Yeah, absolutely. Listen, both of these are levels of forgiveness, and not just, we're talking about levels of forgiveness. If I forgive, is there a reward for me? And I change the relationship? 100%. Why? Because remember, I'm giving up something. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He rewards when we give up something, right? If I give up my time, if I give up my wealth, I give up my, in some cases, I even give up my honor, right? I'll give up the ability to say something. I'll give up my right, right? I give up these things. What happens in return? Why do I do those things? Because I want a reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I want Allah to forgive me. I want Allah to reward me. I want Allah to be pleased with me, right? These are why I give up those things. Like sacrifice is very fundamental to our religion. So I give up these things for that. Does it mean that, all right, now that I change the way that I'm dealing with this person, I've already given up my right. Yes? I've already given it up. And if I'm changing the way up, maybe I didn't get the amount of reward I would if I now made that different, right? But there's still reward. You know, if I give $5, like if I have the ability to give $1,000, that's within my ability, it's very easy, and I give $5. Do I get rewarded? Yeah, absolutely. Is it the same reward as if I give 1,000? No. So it's the same thing here. How much of my right am I willing to give up? And what kind of change is that going to cause? Like I said, there is a clear depth that's there, right? There's a clear depth that's there. And the only way to get to like those higher levels is the more we let go of the self, right? The more I let go of my ego, the more I diminish it, the more I chip away at it, the better and the lighter person I'm going to be. And part of this forgiveness, like in giving up things to other people, or giving up rights to others, the only way a person is willing to give like that is because they're humble in the sense that, yeah, I'm willing to give this stuff away because it doesn't have value to me. And the reason it doesn't have value to me is because I don't expect anything from you, right? Because why are we so hurt when people take stuff from us? It's expectations. If someone doesn't do something, if something does something, somebody says something, someone doesn't say something, you know what I mean? Like we create these expectations, and when the expectations break, what happens? We get upset. We get upset. And it's like, the reality is like, man, if you look, the lower expectations we keep with others, someone might be like, oh, well, if you just keep expectations low with people, like how are people going to grow? But there's a difference between having high standards and having high expectations. Because having high standards is like, okay, no, this is how the community should operate. This is how society should operate. Expectations is how this person should deal with me. Why? Like, why? The only thing I'm deserving of is what? As a human being, I'm deserving of what? Respect. Would you agree? If someone disrespects me, I have every right to what? To respond. And be like, yo, you're being disrespectful. Like, I don't like how you're talking to me. Like, I've been working, you promised that you were going to pay me, I was working the whole day and you gave me like $1.50. Like, you're not respecting me or my time, right? But that is, I can respond because now it becomes an issue of rights. It's not an issue of expectation. It's an issue of respect. It's not an issue of expectation because I'm allowed respect. People can't just talk to me however they want. People can't just deal with me however they want. People can't just pay me however they want. I'm sorry? More than $1.50? I would say like maybe 3/5 of that. Yeah, go ahead. A conflict with? That's fine too. I don't have to communicate with everyone that I forgive them. The other problem is like, okay, if I'm walking around and I'm constantly forgiving people, what is the other problem? Everybody wronged me? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I want to kind of like, I want us to like think about that. Everybody wronged me? Does that even make sense? And if I'm walking around, it's like, this person looked at me funny. Oh, this person is thinking about me. Oh, right? It's very selfish. It's like so self-involved, right? If I have to walk around, and because not just that, if I walk around and I'm like, man, I forgave all these people, like subhanAllah, what happens? It's the opposite of humility. Because it's like, oh, look how great I am that I forgive how oppressive the world is. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, it's so self-centered. It's so self-centered. And that's like the other extreme to be aware of. Because there has to be a sense of resilience within us, right? Like, we need to be resilient as individuals. What does that mean? It's me understanding that when I go into the public space, and when I deal with others, and when I talk to others, is everybody going to follow my rules? No. And are there people who are going to insult me? 100%. Are there people who are going to say something I don't like? 100%. And if I react to every single one of those instances, what does that say about me? It means I'm not a resilient person. It means I'm very sensitive. And sensitivity is selfishness. I'm going to be very honest. if I don't have the ability to take, and I'm not saying like, oh, I have to bear the world, but it's like every time somebody critiques me, every time somebody says something about me, every time somebody gives me a piece of advice, right? That happens too. Like someone is just coming, they're sincerely giving me advice, and I get hurt by that. It's less telling about them and more telling about me. Like I need to have that resilience. Like that's something that's a very important characteristic for a Muslim to have. On the other end, it's like I can't be so resilient, like you said, that I can't be a pushover where people start taking advantage of me. It's like, yeah, man, yo, dude, just put your hand in his pocket. Watch, put your hand in his pocket, and take out his card and go buy something, and he's not even going to say anything. Because someone might be like, oh, well, weren't the companions like that? Well, there are two things, right? You have narrations where the companions were like, man, I would be able to go to my brother, and if I needed something from him, I would take it from him, and he wouldn't say anything. We have narrations like that. That's more telling about the community than it is about that individual. You know what it tells? It tells that this person is going to go to the person who he knows has the ability to help him, and he's only going to take what? What he needs. And this person knows, like, hey, listen, if he's coming and taking something from me, what does that mean? He actually needs it. He's not taking it because he's trying to take advantage of me or he's trying to hurt me, right? That's more telling of a community than it is of, oh, the levels of tolerance, right? That I actually find it very silly when people use that as an example, like, oh, we should be so giving that you can. Is our community there? Our community can get there, but as of right now, we're not. We're not there. That takes time. It takes a lot of tarbiyah, right? It takes a lot of training to get to a point where people can be so trusting with each other that all they have to do, sometimes they don't even have to tell someone, where someone can just come and be like, yo, you're like, yeah, go ahead, take what you need. They know why they're coming, they know how much they need, and they know that they're not going to go over it, right? So creating that community balance is something that's really important. What is the problem of constantly forgiving? And forgiving, meaning that not in front of Allah, right? Because a person can violate time and again. It's like, man, he stole $5 today, he comes back, he stole $10, now he stole 100, he stole another dollar here, right? And it's just constantly happening. Yeah, and when we don't put limitations on people around us, what happens? I'm sorry? Oh, it can become a norm because nobody's setting boundaries now. So, huh? It's not just about having rights. All I've done is I've enabled an entire population. If there are no consequences, because at the end of the day, even in the Sharia, if somebody steals, what happens? There are consequences. If somebody murders, there are consequences. If somebody commits zina, there are consequences. Somebody drinks alcohol, there are consequences. Somebody gambles, there are consequences, right? All of these in the Sharia, they have consequences. Why? Because if there are no consequences, it only enables. That's it. It enables bad behavior. Instead of me learning that I shouldn't do this again, it encourages me actually to do it again. And that's why this balance is important. Remember we were talking about respect? Right, that's where the respect comes in. Is like, okay, no, there are going to be consequences here. It's like, oh, he stole $100. Oh, yeah, no, forgive him and blah, blah. No, yeah, no problem. Just give it back to me. I'll forgive you. No problem. Oh, you can't, oh, you're not going to give it back. Okay, no problem. Police, I have this person on video taking this money. There's nothing wrong with me holding people accountable in this world. There's nothing wrong with that. Especially if there are cases where people are going to be repeat offenders. You guys know that there was a companion who the other companions, they used to call him a donkey. They said he was a himar. They called him a donkey. You guys know why they call him a donkey? He would drink alcohol. The companions would find him drinking alcohol. They would beat him up, and then he would come back again drunk, and they would beat him up again. Huh. Yeah. So he they brought him to the Prophet ﷺ, like, yo, this is the third time that we're finding him publicly drunk, and he's like, what's going on? Like, why are you drinking? He's like, man, I have a problem. I just drink, and he's like, what do I do with you? He's like, yeah, I love you, Ya Rasulullah. Like, I love you, I love Allah. Like, he's like, I know that much, that I love you, and I love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Prophet ﷺ, like, he smiled. He's just sleeping bee, dude. Like. But I'm saying that social accountability is important because you know what we don't hear? We don't hear him coming back again. So bringing people to account. Because now, what was the difference in the fourth time? They didn't beat him up. What did they do? They took him to the Prophet ﷺ. And now he's admitting to the Prophet ﷺ, like, yo, I really love you. So he's showing how embarrassed he is, right? And the beating didn't have an effect. What had an effect? Right? Coming in like being embarrassed in front of the Prophet ﷺ. He's like, yo, I could take a beating. I'll go get drunk again. It's not a big deal. I'm so drunk I can't feel it anyway, right? Uh-huh. So Umar radiallahu anh, he wanted to implement a law where every time you get drunk, there are lashes, right? And this is something that is in the Sharia, right? You have public lashes for people who are publicly drunk, right? It's 30 lashes. And he was like, if you get caught a fourth time, execution. Fourth time, execution. No, it's like, what do we do with all these drunkards? And the thing is, like, listen, the Arabs, it was a society it was like a drinking society. I would say it's not very different from like American society. Drinking is so social, right? It's such a social thing. People, anywhere you go, everywhere you go, like, there's always going to be alcohol, right? Always. Like, either it's going to begin with it or it's going to end with it. And the Arabs were no different. And imagine in that society, alcohol is now, it's all removed, right? It's pulled away. You're going to have cases like that. You even have some cases where there are, and these are companions, he's appointed as a governor, and he's leading people in prayer, and he's drunk. And he keeps praying. Like, the people behind him, they're complaining. They're like, what are you drunk? What are you doing? Like, you're doing something. He turns around, he's like, you want me to lead you in more? He turns around. He's like, Azidukum. He's like, you want me to keep going? So the thing is, and the reason that you share these stories is like, these are very much humans, right? Like, these are very much human beings who had problems. They had issues. Like, they're tackling with their own problems. They're navigating their own sectors in society. You had people coming forward like, Ya Rasulullah, I made zina. Like, I don't know what to do. And the Prophet ﷺ, he's trying to turn away from this person. He's trying to get away. And he's like, Ya Rasulullah, I made zina. The Prophet ﷺ, he's like, yo, leave. Like, don't tell me, like, leave, get out of here. He comes over here, he's like, Ya Rasulullah, I'm telling you I made zina. Prophet ﷺ, again, he's turning away, like, bro, like, get out of here. You know what I mean? Like, why are you still here? Why are you still talking? It was only after the fourth time he admitted it, where he said he needs to be stopped. The woman, the Ghamidi woman who came to him, sallallahu she was like, Ya Rasulullah, I made zina. He's like, okay, come back when you, like, see if you're pregnant or not. He didn't send any guards. He didn't ask about her. He didn't see what was going on. Basically telling her what? Don't come back. Like, she comes back and she's like, Ya Rasulullah, I'm pregnant. He's like, okay, come back after you deliver. After she delivers, she comes back again. And she says, Ya Rasulullah, I delivered. He said, okay, feed the baby. Maybe if she feeds the baby, she'll develop an attachment. Maybe, like, inshallah, she won't come back. She comes back, she's like, look, Ya Rasulullah, she's feeding solid food now. The baby's healthy, independent. He said, okay. Just imagine, like, the conscience of this woman, right? That she's constantly like, yo, I need to repent for this. I need to do something about this. Like, I need to do something about the situation. I can't live like this, knowing that I committed such a heinous crime. While she's being stoned, some blood gets on a companion, and he was like, oh, you disgusting najis person. The Prophet ﷺ, he stopped him, and he was like, listen, her forgiveness and her maghfirah, it fills the entire valley and whoever's in it. Like, that's sincerity, right? You know what I mean? Like, this is what sincerity looks like. And who would think that you would have such a deeply ingrained story of forgiveness for somebody who committed one of, like, what Islamically is considered an extremely heinous crime? I mean, that's not, like, just mercy is something that's really important. SubhanAllah, you know the amazing thing about forgiveness? It's like, it's so reflective. Like when we seek forgiveness, right, it allows us to be forgiving of others. And you know the one person who we tend to forget to forgive? Ourselves. Like we're just so harsh with ourselves. But the reality is like until I learn to be forgiving with myself, there's no way for me to be forgiving with others. Meaning that I have to overlook my mistakes and understand that I will make mistakes and that I have to seek tawbah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But seeking tawbah from Him and asking Him to forgive me, okay, am I ready to move on? Or am I going to keep looking back? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, أَلَا إِنَّ أَوْلِيَاءَ اللَّهِ لَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. That the awliya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the friends of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those people who believe truly in Him azza wa jal, that they don't have any remorse over their past. Nor are they worried about their futures. They're confident Allah's going to take care of them. It might not be the way that that I want it. It might not be in the house that I want or the car that I drive, or maybe I want more kids or less kids or whatever the case might be, right? But I can trust that Allah's going to take care of me. But we have to learn to be forgiving. I think that's something that's hugely important. What happened? Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. She came forward herself. She was seeking forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah granted it to her. He brings some more hadith. He talks about how people in different situations, that even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of the mercies is that He gives angels to Him to kind of hold us back. Like they're angels of restraint who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us and granted us. He says, and every time they succeed in stopping us, or every time they succeed in stopping us, they follow it up with a dua and making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this story of mixing honey into the milk, he drank it and he tasted the sweetness. And they said, well, why is that a problem? They said, well, we put some honey in it. And he said, I don't forbid it, but I think we should humble ourselves. What does he mean? Huh? So he talks about humility. He talks about acting arrogantly. What does that have to do with milk, the honey in the milk?
Maybe like not wanting to, not doing what you want every time you want it.
Luxury, okay.
He could have eaten meat, but he didn't eat meat.
So, okay, restraint is important.
It's like,
is it like something that's unnecessary, right? Like so,
That's very subjective, right? A lot of things can be unnecessary. It's a luxury, sure. Okay, why does that matter? So what do you suggest that he do then here? What advice is he giving to the companions?
it's like,
Don't drink milk with honey?
no, it's like, how you said, sometimes if you eat just white rice, instead of eating everyday steak.
Sure. No, so you learn to appreciate. No, that's fine. So he's showing appreciation for that. Possible.
is it wasteful to drink? Like,
No, because he says very clearly he says, I don't forbid it.
it's better to.
He doesn't, Allahu Alam, he doesn't want to create the expectation. Every time he fasts, what? Because if he was like, yo man, this is amazing. This is so good. Immediately, what would the companions do? They would go out of their way to provide this for him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So what is he doing? He's like, I want to be humble and I want to make it easy for others. So I want to be clear, like, hey, I appreciate it, but I don't want this. Again, huh? No, I mean, he broke his fast with it, clearly, because he drank it, but maybe he passed it around, maybe he had some more, maybe out of respect he finished it. Wallahu alam, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, this was a teaching moment for him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to show him like, okay, hey, listen, how do you become humble? Remember, humility revolves around expectations, right? That's something that's really important. So what is he trying to do? He's trying to remove those expectations. There are a number of hadith. I love that hadith of Aisha radiallahu anha, where a lot of that hadith about his sallallahu alaihi wasallam's night prayer, they come from her. And what is she doing? She's sleeping, right? And he's not like, hey, get up, you're the wife of a prophet. This is so odd, what are people gonna say? Like, this is not how you should be. He didn't do any of those things. Even he wasn't demanding in the home. Oh, last 10 nights of Ramadan. He would wait, like last 10 nights of Ramadan, he would actually make an effort to wake them up. Why? Because this is an opportunity and he didn't want them to waste it. But when it came to like expectations of like food and drink and cooking and all these things, he's on very, very low expectations. And the beauty of that is like, okay, even if there are things that you want and there are things that you agreed upon, and I come home, like for example, if I agree upon like, hey, listen, I get married, I want my wife to clean the house and I want her to cook or whatever, I come home, I don't smell any food and the house is a mess. But if I don't have any expectations, what can I now do? Number one, I'm not going to be upset, right? Because I didn't expect it. And what is the next step that I'm going to do? Right, either I can start cooking or cleaning, but even before that, what should I do? I should probably go talk to my wife, see she's okay, right? Yes, I don't have the expectation, so I'm not upset, but I can also now take the opportunity to, hey, like, is everything okay? And how will that make her feel? It'll make her feel horrible, like, yeah, why are you asking about me? No. It's okay, like, he's not married. I forgive him. So, like, when you like, because anybody who's asked about, it makes them feel, right, it makes them feel good. It makes them feel better, and it's just like, oh, I'm sorry, I actually wasn't feeling well. Oh, it's all good. I'll take care of it. What do you want to eat? Right? And it becomes a lot easier, and it becomes a much healthier relationship when we do things like that. And again, subhanAllah, like I said, this is between a husband and a wife. And even just being thankful time and again for a wife to appreciate her husband, if her husband is the main provider, like, hey, listen, I don't say it enough, but I want to be thankful for, that you provided so much for us. Just small words like that, what happens to the husband? He'll work another 10 years just to hear those words again, right? That's all it takes. Have you guys seen that Instagram reel? So there's a woman who's acting as she's acting as a prostitute, and there's guys like driving up with their cars, and they're giving her money, and she goes, "You're a great driver." And he's like, "Tell me I'm a good husband too," and she's like, "That's another $50, right?" Like, but it doesn't take a lot, right? It doesn't take a lot to motivate. It doesn't take a lot for people to feel appreciated, and the thing is, like, yeah, obviously the humor is there, but it's very telling on what motivates people. Like these small things, and if we forget to appreciate others, right? And it doesn't have to be spouses. Those relationships will always become strained, right? Versus saying like, man, I really appreciate that, or jazakallah khair, or like, just small things like that. It's a very easy way to motivate ourselves and to motivate others. You have stories like this, right? Like, sometimes there are people you don't want in your group. There's people who are strange, right? Like people who you're not familiar with, and you're just like, oh man, like, oh, this guy, he's gonna ruin the mood, or he's gonna do this, or she's gonna do that. But by allowing them in, what happens? I mean, a few things happen. Number one, you're giving that person an opportunity, right? Which is something that's important. Like, we should always give people a chance. And secondly, because humility can only come when we're uncomfortable. Does that make sense? Right? I can only be like, there's no way for me to know that I'm being humble unless I'm put in situations where I don't feel comfortable. Right? That's the only way growth comes, is with like discomfort and pain. Right? It's not going to be just me sitting, in air conditioning, and like that's not how growth happens, right? Growth happens in spaces and places where I don't feel comfortable, and that's something that's really important. Over here, I think we've spoken about this hadith a few times. Like, why did the Prophet ﷺ choose poverty over, over being a king? We said that number one, everyone has the ability to be poor, but not everybody has the ability to be rich. Being poor inherently keeps an individual humble, right? Versus getting wealthy, where I would say the test of arrogance and pride, it's much easier to fall into when a person reaches a place of status and a place of wealth. Here he said that nobility is in piety, honors in humility, and true richness is in yaqeen, is in faith. He doesn't associate any of these things with the worldly things. So if I truly want to be noble, then I have to work to be pious. If I truly want to be honored and feel honored, then I have to be humble. And lastly, true richness, like ghina, or like we all look to be content, we all look for happiness, we all look for wealth. But wealth, time and again, he's pointed out that wealth is here, it's not here. Sure. Uh-huh. I'm reading too quickly. See, that's good of having low expectations. Like, I know how to read. Makes you feel more proud, right? Like, mashallah, my Imam can read. No. So, at a 4th grade level or higher? Is that... when a servant humbles himself, Allah elevates. So subhanAllah, like the more we're willing to give up, the more we're able to lower ourselves. In Allah's eyes, what happens? We're actually raised. Go ahead. Silence, yeah. Silence in the sense, there's a difference between silence and being dumb, right? So being dumb is the inability to speak. Being silent just means that you're silent more and you speak less. That's all. Because it's very, the amazing thing with silence is that for many people, it's extremely uncomfortable. Right? Like if nobody says anything, immediately, and like, you can see this like with friends and family and stuff. If there's a gathering and it gets quiet, usually the person with the weakest character, what do? They'll try to fill the space and say something. Silence is a sign of restraint. Yeah.
What if somebody wants, like, what if you're having a good time? Like, is that really being a good character?
It depends on the situation. Here, does anybody like what is the opposite of silent? Being a loudmouth. Does anybody like a loudmouth? No. And like I said, there's a difference between silent and being dumb, right? Like being dumb is the inability to speak. Nobody appreciates that either. Like does anybody appreciate like dealing with a wall? Like if I come and I talk and I'm asking you questions and you're just that's a different way of being disrespectful, right? So over here, silence is just knowing when not to speak. That's all it is. In silence, there's a type of wisdom because it also shows about the person that they're comfortable enough to not feel the need to always contribute. And that's an important skill to have. I remember I was having dinner with another Imam, and he was just like talking. And I'm enjoying my food, right? Like so I'm sitting there, I'm eating, and I'm like, mashallah, man, go ahead. You want to monopolize the conversation, it's fine. And then he ends the conversation with because it's almost time it was either time to go or time to pray, I forgot. And he ends the conversation with being an imam is so difficult. And I was like, no, I don't think so. And he was like shocked. He was like, why do you say that? I was like, if you have two things, it's actually very easy to be an imam. And he's like, what's that? I said, if you have a administration that respects the position, not the person, because the person can be respected or disrespected. That happens time and again. And I said, and if you have a good contract. I said, if you have these two things, for me, it's actually pretty easy. Like, he'd been talking for an hour at this point, and I was just, you know what I mean? It was just like a 1-minute conversation. So it's really interesting in seeing how people act in different scenarios. I think for a lot of people who have weak character, who are very unsure of themselves, they feel the need to insert themselves and actually express a lot and speak a lot. For some people, they equate knowledge with talking, but I think a lot of knowledge is in silence, if I'm being honest. And I've seen different teachers act in different settings, and it's amazing how usually the most knowledgeable one is the one that's saying the least. And a lot of times, like, it'll be like a roundtable discussion, they're saying this and that, and then it'll come to my sheikh, and he'll just say something that'll just, like phenomenal. And you're like, subhanAllah, man. Like, he was just sitting on that, this entire time. I had to listen to like these 6 other people who were just talking, out of their necks about things that aren't even relevant. And like, mashallah, like he just brought out this gem. So I think silence is it's a very important story. And like I said, it's very different than complete silence. Silence is just speaking less. That's all.
What about somebody who doesn't have a lot of knowledge and chooses to provide that knowledge?
If a person has a lot of knowledge, then they probably wouldn't be doing that. It's because the knowledge is actually a restrainer. Remember, so I think for a Muslim, there are 2 very important characteristics, like restraint and understanding delayed gratification. The only thing that's only going to restrain me and allow me that delayed gratification is knowledge, right? But what is preventing me from engaging? Knowledge. What is helping me understand that if I don't get this now, I'll get it later? Is knowledge.
What about like teaching things? Like, what
Mm-hmm.
in this room, obviously?
Sure.
You most knowledge
Mm-hmm.
person would you're talking about. Right?
Sure.
Is that seen as a detractor from your knowledge or like your humility?
It can, right? Because there are different ways to gauge that, and there are different settings, right? If I'm teaching a class, does it make sense for me to sit up in front of you and just look at all your faces? So the only thing I would add here is appropriate silence.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
So over here, I would say appropriate silence, just to get a better understanding and grasp of what's intended. Does that help? Because it's not absolute silence, because that doesn't make sense. Did the Prophet ﷺ speak? Absolutely. Like, he spoke, he expressed himself, And it's not possible that he would always, but were there times where he didn't speak? Yeah, right? There were times where he didn't speak. He wasn't, even though he was in a position where he had to teach, right? He had to share the Sharia, he had to explain ayat, right? He had to explain Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's laws, he had to show certain manners and certain etiquette. But even then, there were gaps where he saw something, he would just be sitting there. He would be silent, he'd be quiet. Sometimes he would wait for revelation before he spoke, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Sometimes he would remove himself from people, right? So it's important to keep those things in mind. Like I said, I think silence, like appropriate silence, is probably a better representation of this.
Did he ever, obviously he possessed most knowledge, did the Prophet ever, for instance, defer to other companions or let them talk in those settings where he would
Yeah.
hold back?
So there's one example is a hadith in Sahih Muslim where he sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was walking by like people who were cross-pollinating the date palm trees. And he's like, why do you guys do this? This looks like a waste of time. So he came by and like they came to the Prophet ﷺ and they're like, Ya Rasulullah, like our date harvest is less. Like we don't have, like our produce, we didn't produce as much because you told us not to cross-pollinate. And he was like, Antum a'lamu bi umur dunyakum. He's like, man, you guys know more about this dunya stuff than I do. Like, why would you listen? Why would you listen to me? So you do have situations like, where he would allow others to speak. They would share like their ideas on certain things. Sometimes battle strategies. Sometimes Umar radiallahu anhu, he would come to him and he would say, they would share their dreams with him. He wouldn't be like, okay, hey, listen, Allah will inspire me and I'll, and then I'll give you the answer. No, he actually would listen to him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered him, وَشَاوِرْهُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ. He, Azza wa Jal, he ordered the Prophet like seek counsel from them. Listen to them. You know what I mean? So I think listening is something, it's like a really important skill. In line with this hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, "Man kana yu'minu billahi wal yawmil akhir, falyaqul khayran aw liyasmut." Whoever amongst you believes in Allah on the last day, let him say something good or shut up, right? Like something. It's a very strong way of like say something good or shut up. Like you don't need to talk. A lot of these very similar meanings. Sorry, I'm just looking to see if something like really stands out. This one I liked. So Sulaiman alayhi salam, right, the prophet, he said every morning he would scan the faces of the rich and noble until he reached the poor. Then he would choose to sit with them. And why is this interesting? Because he himself was what? Not just rich. He was what? He was the king, right? He was the king, and he would go out and he'd be like, okay, where are the poor people sitting? And what would he do? He would purposely go to sit amongst them to remind his own self. You know what I mean? Like nowadays, mashallah, like, our leader, he sits with the poor at McDonald's. You know what I mean? Like we have to respect that. He serves at McDonald's, okay? Get it right.
Forgot about that. He was doing good luck at McDonald's.
Best employee ever. So,
I saw him grocery shopping.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. This is the humility we need. This is the humility we deserve. Whoever loves leadership would not prosper. Again, this is the opposite of humility, right? This idea of striving for wanting leadership, right? Not because an individual fulfills certain qualities. I think that's something that's important. So if I have certain qualifications, I should definitely strive for the role, but I shouldn't do it for the love of being over and standing over people. For Salah? We prayed yesterday, right? I said we prayed yesterday, right? Again? Wait, we have to pray again? No, I'm just pausing. 2 minutes left. Okay, خلاص. We'll stop here. والله أعلم وصلى الله على خير خلق نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.